Lesson 17, I believe this is our last lesson before the next quiz, okay? Number 1, write an equivalent ratio that uses only whole numbers. So that means no fractions, right? And the hint is in parts D and E, they want you to multiply it by 10 to get rid of the decimal, right? Okay, so in the first one, they can walk 2 kilometers per half hour. Well, how far, so how far could they walk in a full hour? Well, how many halves make a whole, right? If I can walk this in half an hour, how much is it to 1? What do I have to do to get from half to a whole, right? Here's your hint. Times it by 2, okay? So I have to double this and double this, right? In part B, it's 4 kilometers road in a third of an hour. Well, how many thirds make a whole? How many pieces of the pizza do I have to make a whole pizza if it's cut into 3? So I thought whatever I'm going to times this by to make it whole, I also have to times this by, right? So I know that if this is 1/3 of an hour, I have 2/3, then 3/3. 3/3 is the whole thing. So I'm going to times this by 3, and I'm also going to times that by 3. Okay? 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup, to 3 cups flour. Now, I need to make this whole. How do I make a quarter into a whole? What do I have to times it by? How many quarters make the whole thing? I'm not adding on to the 1. I need to know how many pieces make the whole so that I can multiply that by the top number, right? So I know that 4 quarters make a whole, so I'm going to multiply this by 4, so I have the whole thing, and then I'm going to multiply this by 4 to keep the ratio the same. Okay? On D, it's 0.9 kilometers per 2 liters of gas. So this is the one where they said times it by 10. So whatever I do to this side, I have to do to this side. If it was a fraction and it looked like this, you'd know what to do like that, right? So I'm going to just times them both by 10. So 0.9, the decimal's going to move behind it, so it's just going to become 9, and 2 times 10, 20, right? So if it goes 0.9 kilometers on 2 liters, it goes 9 kilometers on 20 liters. Okay, we're just trying to get rid of the fractions or the decimals. 1.9 liters of ginger ale to 0.4 milliliters. Oh, these are both milliliters, pardon me. I was worried there, we had to do some converting. So 1.9 and 0.4. You're going to do the exact same thing. Just times them both by 10, right? And that's your new ratio. Okay, pause the video, finish that up. Number 2, multiply the numerator and denominator by 10, then solve the proportion. So we have 2.4 over 6 equals 24 over, 2.4 over 4. 24 over 40 is what over 20? Okay. So they times it by 10. They took 2.4 to 24 and 4 to 40. It's easy to go from 40 to 20, right? What is the relationship between 40 and 20? You're going to do the exact same thing with 24. Whatever you cut this, it's not, and I will tell you right now, it's not minus 20. It is only ever multiplying or dividing. So if it confuses you, you can think about the relationship from 20 to 40. It's times what? And then you'd have to look at this number and figure out what number times that gives you 24. In my mind, it's easier to just go, well, I know what the difference, I know what 40, the relationship between 40 and 20 is. And if I cut that, I can do that the same way. Okay, and I'll pick one more to do with you. 7.2 over 3.2. Okay, we need to get rid of these decimals. So I'm going to skip them both by timesing them by 10. 72 over 32. and then it's what over 4, okay? So my arrow is going to go this way. 4 times something equals 32. I know that 4 times 8 is 32. So what times 8 is 72? Or you could think of it as 8 times what is 72. And that's what's going to tell you goes in that place. Okay? Finish that one. It's a really short day today. Come back for number 3. Okay, solve each problem by first changing the ratio into a ratio of whole numbers. Rhonda can ride her bike 6 kilometers in 1/4 of an hour. Okay? How far can she ride in 3 hours? So we've got 6 in 1/4, right? But we need to get that to a whole. So how many quarters? What do we have to times this by to make it whole? How many quarters make $1? How many quarters, if the pie is cut into 4 slices, how many slices do you have the whole thing? So I'm going to times that by 4. That gives me the whole, right? But whatever I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top. So that gives me 24 over 4, right? But they want to know, so she can ride 24 kilometers in, oh, sorry, this is 1, not 4. It's 1 whole hour. But they want to know how far she can ride in 3 hours. So what do I have to do to get to 3? I'm at 1 hour, I got to get to 3 hours. So I have to times it by, yes, and then I'm going to times the top by the same number. Okay? Go answer that one. Come back for B. A plant grows 0.5 centimeters in 4 days. Right? How many days will it take to grow 9 centimeters? Okay, so we got 0.5 in 4 days. But this, we have to make this into a whole. So I need to get it, how am I going to get from a half to a whole? What do I have to, how many halves make a whole? That's what I have to times it by. I know that 2 halves make a whole. So now this is going to be 1, but I also have to times the bottom to keep my ratio the same. 4 times 2 is 8, right? So it's going to grow 1 centimeter in 8 days. Now, how many days will it take to grow 9 centimeters? So remember, I'm keeping my centimeters the same. These are centimeters, these are days, right? How many? And it specifically asks to grow 9 centimeters, not how much it'll grow in 9 days. It asks how long it will take to grow 9 centimeters. So, how do I get from 1 to 9? 1 times what makes 9? Right? So whatever I times the top by, I'm going to times the bottom by, and that'll tell me how many days it'll take to grow 9 centimeters. Okay? Go figure it out. Come on back for C. Okay, on a map, 0.4 centimeters equals 50 meters. How many meters does 7 centimeters? Right? So we have 0.4, these are our centimeters, and 50 meters. These are our meters. They want to know how far 7 centimeters equals, right? Well, we've got to get rid of this. We can't have a decimal in it, so we're going to times them both by 10, right? So decimal 4 is going to end up being 4, and 50 is going to end up being 500. And how far does 7 centimeters? Well, I need to know 7, but I can't get from 7 to 7 from 4 easily. And close enough isn't good enough, right? So that means we've got to take it down to lowest terms to a 1, and then we can go from 1 to 7. That's easy, okay? So we have to get this to 1. So to get from 1 to 4, the arrow's going to go this way. What did I multiply 1 by to get to 4? Very easy. So this number times 4 has to equal 500. Well, let's think about this. We've got it times 4, right? if I chose 100 just to start at, 100 times 4 would be 400. That's pretty close. I can figure out the last 100, right? So let's start with 100, and that gets us to 400, right? And now we have to figure out what the extra 100, 4 times what makes 100. I always like to go back to money when I talk about hundreds, because that's one of the first things you guys, that's real for you, is you understand money and coins. So what coin, 4 of them make $1, right? 25 cents. So 125 times 4, because it'd be 4 times 100 would be 400, and then 425, 450, 475, 500. So this would be 125. So 1 centimeter is worth 125 meters, right? So your new ratio, you've got 1 centimeter to 125 meters in real life, right? But they want to know 7 centimeters. How do I get from 1 to 7? Times it by, exactly. And then I'm going to do the bottom one the same. Okay, go figure out C. Come on back for D, and we're done. Okay, a recipe uses 1/3 of a cup of milk to 2 cups of flour. Okay, I know that they're cups. We don't have to do any conversions. How much milk do you need for 3 cups of flour? Okay, this is what we're looking for. So we have 1/3 is 2, right? We can't work with this fraction. We've got to get that to 1. So how many thirds make a whole? What do I have to times it by to make a whole? Exactly. So I'm going to times this by 3, and I'm going to times this by 3 to keep my ratio the same. So 1 cup of milk is 6 cups of flour, because 2 times 3 is 6, right? But we need to know 3 cups of flour. So we have 1 to 6 is what to 3? Yes? So 1 over 6 is something over 3. Well, what's the relationship from 3 to 6? That should come to you like that. You recognize that 3 is half of 6, right? So I need to cut, if I cut the 6 in half, I need to cut the 1 in half. How much is half of 1? So you could choose to write it as a decimal, or you could choose to write it as a fraction. But that's how much milk you're going to need. Okay? Have a good day. I miss you. See you later.